Hello, dear friends. We are talking about types of digestion. Based on the features of our physiology, people digest the same types of foods differently. This should be accounted as the primary factor the digestive health depends on. What is healthy for one may not be necessarily healthy for others. Naturopathy talks about that, and official medicine begins to talk about it too. Well-known Dr. Gentry now integrated the system of distinguishing three gut types with his patients. But as innovative as it sounds, and conceptually new as it looks, it is really the most ancient and fundamental principle of Ayurvedic medicine. The more the modern medicine evolves and develops, the more it will align with the principles of Ayurveda. Now let's see what are these three types, what they depend on, and which one of them you think is particular of you. Please share what you think in comments, give it a like if you find it interesting, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Now let's talk in particular about each of the type of the digestion. First principle of digestion is by principle of gas. It is characterized by the digestive system that is deficient in the enzymes and digestive juices and moisture. So because the qualities are cold, dry, rough, quick, right? Because it's the energy of conduction and movement. This is why it has the qualities of space energy and air. And air is dry and quick and clear and subtle. All the qualities for this type of digestion too. They're all present there. The more they're present, the more imbalanced the digestion becomes, incapable of producing good digestive process, digest and absorb nutrients. The enzymes are scarce, the digestive juices are dry and poorly secreted, the moisture is low, digestive agni is low too, and it is variable. It goes on and goes off. Depending on different states, the enzymes may rise, but then they would be unstable and it may change to dryness quickly, as well as the emotions of such individuals can also be variable. They may go into extremes, being anxious and being exulting, very active and quickly tire because their constitution is fragile and unstable. Energy can plummet, become tired and exhausted very quickly. So the Agni is low and variable. They also have the thin mucosal membrane in the intestine, which is very fragile. The amount of digestive juice in the stomach enriched with hydrochloric acid is also scarce. It can hardly handle large amounts of food, especially if the food is dry and cold and heavy. Of course, because the scarce enzymes be very particular and very picky with their foods. They don't eat much, they eat small amounts, but more frequently, or they would actually gravitate not having good appetite, and therefore they can actually go malnourished. Worry and anxiety, those are very particular emotions. Conditioned anorexia, they're predisposed to quick dehydration, wear down of their mucosal membrane throughout the digestive tract. The digestive process, as well as the general physiology, is dry and cold. They would have cold extremities during warm season even. It is difficult for the digestion to disassemble foods to the basic nutrients. This is why it is essential for them to eat micronutrients. They are prone to hardening of the stools and developing constipation. Therefore, they need the constant digestive support to be able to easily move the bowels, making the stool soft and moist, supporting the mucosal membrane, and digestive tract. Such individuals can be easily irritated and consequently inflamed, because irritation may break the mucous membrane and irritate the inner lining of intestines, which would cause the inflammation. So they can also build up intestinal stones out of the mucus. Poorly digested foods being eliminated and digestive tract dries out, that gets them to form the intestinal stones. And generally, because the stools are hard, and as you see, this is how they would come out. They can get as hard as the rock and be pieces like that. That's probably the most extreme condition. This is the point where they develop constipation. hard, rocky type constipation, and they can go with this constipation for days, 2, 3, 5 days even. The more balanced type stool is this in the middle. This is where stool becomes soft and moist and more consistent. Best result, or something that we would like to see, is this type of stool where it looks like good, well-formed pellet and comes out on a regular basis at least once every day. This is what we are aiming for. The type of GI conditions this constitution is prone to develop are irritable bowel syndrome. That's probably number one. The intestinal wall is irritated and they experience excruciating pain throughout the digestive tract. And then, of course, with constipation, dyspepsia and dysbiosis. Microbiome is imbalanced under this condition, and the poor enzymic content of digestive juices leads to this variable type of digestion. Enzymes would not be stable and consistent, and this is how they may also develop some inflammation. And because they strain too much because the hard stools, they may develop hemorrhoids. So that's another condition. And in order to balance it, we need to counterpart and oppose this manifestation. We need to start introducing the balancing means. Here they would be moisture and warmth and good stimulating agent for production of enzymes and digestive juices, and supporting the mucosal lining and providing the consistent warmth and moisture. This is the key factors to get this digestion under control. The next principle of digestion, which is based on bile, qualities of Pitta condition this digestion. They are, as mentioned before, hot, sharp, light, penetrating. They may be rough, they may be flowing. So it is characterized by a digestive system that produces large amount of digestive juices, enzymes, and bile and stomach acid. Digestive agni is high. In such individual, they would constantly experience sense of hunger, yet be easily irritated and may become even angry if they miss their food. They would like large portions of heavy to digest foods, such as proteins and heavy starches. Their favorite taste would be sour, salty, or sweet, heavier tastes. They would be very precise on the times that they would want to eat, trying to eat at a certain time every day, especially during lunch. They might be eating in a rush, hardly chewing, but just getting the large chunks and gulping them down. They may get hungry late at night. Also, the feature of moving their bowels quickly, right after having a meal, and many times during the day, multiple times. They be prone to gradually put on weight, get heavier as they age. That may become a problem. They may accumulate toxic substances that eventually will trigger an inflammation, and inflammation would also be very particular to this type of constitution, but it could be systemic inflammation, something that doesn't bother, like the inflammation in the stomach that can bring about pain, intense sensation, or the type of inflammation that can be in the joint, in the knee, swollen, with edema, with pain. So if the pain factor is present during the inflammation process, then it definitely affects the neurotransmitters, especially the inflammation in the gut, and then it may develop into depressive moods, depression. But if it is more systemic type of inflammation, which is not accompanied by the pain syndrome, then it doesn't specifically affect the mind with depression. Different inflammation can manifest in different ways and can trigger different symptoms as well as the emotional states, and be either directly connected to the mind or indirectly connected to the mind. So these people are usually proportionally built. They're called mesomorph, somebody that has very regular constitution. They may not be tall or too stouty. They have angular features in their physiology. They may be straightforward, intellectual, prone to criticism, engaged in competitive sports. That's what they like. They like to argue, and they are into fitness. The qualities and traits are common to the mind as well as digestive process. Hot, sharp, uneasy, transformative, persistent. Therefore, they'd be prone to easily develop allergies throughout their system and autoimmune processes as later stages of these allergies. And the conditions that are particular for this type of digestion are ulcers, hyperacidity, ulcerative colitis, duodenal ulcers, gastric ulcers, Crohn's disease, liver disease, and small intestinal bacterial overgrowth that would be accompanied with diarrhea, acid reflux, pancreatitis, or any type of inflammation within the digestive tract. So the buildup of heavy and hot metabolic waste products within the digestive system, intestinal wall, and within other tissues and organs throughout the body that can eventually lead to development of autoimmune conditions. The systemic inflammation may develop in autoimmune process in general, which is also considered to be like systemic lupus or fibromyalgia. These are very complex autoimmune conditions. Individuals with this type of digestion would be prone to develop. So these individuals will benefit from introducing cooling and pacifying foods in their diet, and spices, cooling digestive spices such as fennel, such as coriander, satisfying but not producing metabolic waste nutrients that can be digested fully without creating any mucus, like on a starchy basis, or the heavy complex proteins that can also create some autoimmune condition or the allergy condition, which can then produce pus throughout the body. Just as well as for other constitutions, we really want to have the digestion be less wasteful and produce less of the metabolic wastes, meaning that all the foods and nutrients that we get out of the food should be easily digested, easily disassembled without creating too much of the residue and byproducts. Also, bitter taste and astringent tastes help them to balance. Foods that can curb their appetite and neutralize the overproduction of enzymes, and those are bitters that can also stimulate the bile production. We need to assist the liver to expel it, otherwise the bile may stagnate. So simple and easy to digest, clean proteins that I mentioned already. That's what's balancing for people of this type of digestion, as well as one other thing, which is when they have the desire to eat, they may want to redirect that energy towards like the spiritual thrive. So instead of eating, channel their energy towards the intellectual growth or spiritual growth. So if we learn how to channel the energy in a different way other than desiring to eat food, then it will become something else than the toxins in our body, right? Or unneeded nutrients, which can overwhelm the body. The type of stool would be liquid. We want the stool to be more of the solid and formed consistency than diarrhea-like stool. And we want to have 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. If somebody having 5 bowel movements, consider regulating their digestion further, taking some spices, and consider the amount and quality of their nutrition too. On to the principle of mucus, or the Kapha constitution individuals, which is also in naturopathy called endomorphs. And here we'll say that the active organs for these people are mouth cavity and stomach. And the most prominent feature of these organs is the production of mucus in excessive amount. Stomach has to produce a lot of mucus in order to protect the lining from the acidity of the hydrochloric acid and digestive enzymes within the stomach. So it's kind of protecting itself from itself, but for the need to process the food, of course. Digestive agni is low because too much of the mucus. It is actually suppressive to the good quality of digestive enzymes and juices, which result to be watery, diluted, and less potent. It's characterized by stagnation throughout digestive tract, bulky stools, and slow bowel movements. Why? Because look at the qualities. Qualities are cool, moist, thick, dull, smooth, soft, slow, and heavy. So these are the same qualities that would be present descriptive of the digestive process, other than the physical traits and features and the mental traits and features too. So all these qualities are descriptive of the energies on all levels, from mental to physical to digestive. Now, these individuals prefer sweet and heavy foods, custardy consistency, texture. They would eat frequently smaller portions because their digestion is incapable of handling large amounts and large portions. They would feel full fairly quickly after having a meal, but get hungry very soon. So they would eat many times during the day in small quantities. They eat on emotional basis because these are emotional and sensitive individuals. And unconsciously, they use food as the emotional pacifier. It is quite difficult for them to change their habits. This is how attached they are to the food and to things even around that surround them. They form attachments very easily. They are very sentimental, and these individuals have very good memory too. This is maybe partially why they're sentimental. They remember events in details of the past, and this is how they may attach emotionally to them. They have the inclination to be hoarding. Eating late is also something that they would do. However, these people are of very cheerful disposition. They're very communicative. They very open, welcoming, and loving and kind. And since they're very sensitive, if you do not respond to them the same way, then they can shut down. They may become depressed. So due to the stagnant digestive process, they're prone to retain heavy mucus toxic waste products within their digestion as well as within their body. They eventually can trigger the decomposition and decay. Sooner or later, all these heavy deposits and waste products will trigger inflammation and the decaying process and will require elimination, which will be difficult with their constitution because lymphatic system and the elimination as a process is already inertive, and imagine with the slow processes generally throughout the body, this is already delayed even further, and therefore what they would require is the stimulation of these processes. Because of this, they're prone to developing the metabolic syndrome, which is diabetes mellitus, as we know. And this constitution doesn't want to let go easily, and it would continuously retain waste products within, and that will sooner or later develop into a problem. Elimination pathways get congested, which may lead to lymphatic stagnation and development of lymphedema and problems with filtration organs, congested liver, congested kidney, failing kidney, and respiratory system. The following conditions can result from this type of digestion, which can also be a constipation, but of a different type. It's more of the impaction type, slow peristalsis, sluggishness, and heaviness after food, nausea, burping, and intestinal bloating. Also diverticulosis, leaky gut, and candida growth throughout the intestines. So these are more common with this type of digestion. Low acidity, of course. Stools would be bulky but easy to move, and they would be inertively moved because the stools are collecting and they're just kind of moving themselves, but they may get impacted and then they may experience some constipation. Usually the bowel movement would be once a day, every morning, and this is a balanced way for these people. If they start to constipate, we want to assist them. And as balancing remedies for these individuals, we would like to introduce hot and stimulating spices and agents for enzyme production and digestive juices to be drier. So less moist foods would actually be good for them. Reducing nutrition generally, meaning less of the heavy nutrients, heavy compounds, and sweet taste. Fresh crunchy vegetables would be good. High in dietary fiber, intermittent fasting, and of course, the very big component is the emotional detachment. Of course, active lifestyle is important, detox and cleansing routines too. Hot spices are the key to enhance the digestive agni. All right, so this been the overview of different types of digestion. If you find this video helpful, please give it a like, share it with your family and friends, subscribe to our channel, and get notifications. Also, leave a comment of at least 8 words. Comments make difference.